I'm really delighted to spend some time with Peter Ford, a renowned world expert, if you like, in many business-related areas. And I'm taken by the whole fabric of what you've done over the last 30 odd years in particular, Peter. Can you tell our listeners and watchers what you've done during that time? Because in the field of medicine and sport, it's just incredible. We could talk hours just on that alone.
Well, I started out doing med and dropped out. I got bored very early in the piece, probably because there were a lot of other distractions. I really wanted to be a journalist. And so when I had a chance to do that, I started out in Australia, went to CNN as a news anchor. And
Mm.
while I was there in the first year, I was also invited to join a research and development lab with the Veterans Administration, which was using what were then new computers to create new technology to enable people, namely veterans, mostly veterans who had been severely injured or disabled, to communicate again. So my job was to write code or create code that used a computer without using a keyboard or mouse because the person it was aimed for couldn't move. And starting with that, I started working on human movement, on just the way things change if you change your movement in front of a computer, and then eventually came up with using EMG, electromyography, which are the electrical signals inside a muscle. And when we tapped into those, we found we could use them to control all kinds of things on a computer: text, computer generated speech, robotics, wheelchairs, movement. It just became really a rich area to develop.
Peter, I'm always taken back by the adage or the discussion around people see things that others don't. I think you were blessed with the skills and talent to see those things that brought about particularly improvement in people's lives.
I think you're right, Jim. But also things like science fiction helped. I was a big fan of science fiction all the way from childhood. I first published a story even before I went to the States about somebody who's using what was basically a mental link through what was the internet, which hadn't been invented yet, to connect with the world. So the idea was always there, and it just became a matter of synchronicity when I ran into some people who had the tech, but I hadn't thought about this application. So when we got together, we started developing some really cool product.
In terms of CapTech and particularly CapTech 25 and your expertise, one of the themes that you've already established in my mind, Peter, and you articulate well, particularly if I've understood what you're just saying then, your ability to take something and develop it as a silo has been influenced by the interaction with other people. And CapTech is all about that. Take us on that journey.
That's a very good point, Jim. One of the common things people say, what's a news anchor doing writing code and
Mm.
writing communication code for people with disabilities? Well, there's a common theme is communication. We're social creatures. We're humans. We always want to reach out and make contact with the person near us or somebody who we want to connect with. And so CNN revolutionized news. They went from 16-minute broadcast to 24 hours. And in the process, those of us who were on air were called, it's very American. They said, we're communicators.
Mm.
And the essence of that was really actually good. You're trying to get all the events that were affecting the people who are going to watch and connect with them graphically. For me, when I ran across people who couldn't communicate, who had great prospects, for example, Professor Stephen Hawking, I realized that
Mm.
if we could develop something that would let him communicate with the world, suddenly you've got this massive intellect locked in a body, which is mapping the cosmos with mathematics, but can't move out of a wheelchair. If you could tap into that and help that person connect, that would be a massively effective addition to his abilities, but also to the world, because everybody really has a high intellect trapped inside a body, even those of us who can move around. It's
Mm.
just a matter of degree. Disability is a referential thing. And in referring to other people, if somebody can't move or speak, we can use the same technology to help them reconnect and communicate with the world. The common thread is always communication.
I really love you eloquently put that to us to help us understand. And I'm very excited by that within the context of looking at CapTech, where knowledge and the interaction of energy with people with an idea becomes an opportunity to develop not only commercialism, but to develop a better community and world we live in. I'm super excited to hear your presentation.
Well, thank you very much. I think you're right about, you mentioned silos, and people tend to specialize in siloed areas. The beautiful thing about things like this conference is that everybody's going to be able to reach across the silos and network. And
Mm.
there are going to be a host of people who have great ideas, but aren't quite sure how to implement them, how to bring them to, first of all, to realization and to market. That always takes capital. There are a host of people with capital who are tiptoeing around this area, especially in Australia, um, where we're still developing the investment to make changes and also earn a decent profit. We just need to get them together. And I think CapTech's a very good way of them crossing that barrier between the silos and networking. This is a really rich country regarding ideas and resources. This is a really good opportunity now to invest in them and get a solid return in a relatively short
But
period.
Peter, can I congratulate you on your synthesis of CapTech in terms of the success that comes about as a result of being at the right place at the right time with the right people to develop that journey. Again super excited because that really is the essence of the think tank of speakers like yourself who have such a knowledge and a delivery of inspiring people to build a better community and the world. People with a disability has taken on really big dimensions at every level.
You're right, Jim. And the common themes of communication, networking, connection, those are really important. No great idea ever occurs by itself. No person ever starts a company totally by themselves. They might get credit for it, but it really takes a team. And I couldn't have got out the door if I hadn't had a great mentor in the States called Paul Mann, who's a high-tech lawyer, really generous with his time when I was starting out, when I really needed some guidance. And Paul was instrumental in me getting the first ideas into a business plan. Then I needed somebody with capital, and there's an organization in Australia called Phoenix Development Fund. The chairman, Lindsay Phillips, became one of my mentors and still is. They took the punt, investing in that first big step to get you out the door and start producing. You need people. So one of the things I hope we see in CapTech is people connecting with those instigators and those innovators and those facilitators who enable you to take an idea to the market to a profitable existence.
And again, reading between the lines and the excitement that you create in me is that there's a saying that says opportunity does not always knock at the front door. So CapTech is that environment, that ecosystem where people can come together and feel very generous in learning and also giving. And I keep reiterating the same point. I love knowledge because it helps the individual grow, the interactions with people.
I was given some advice when I was six by a very successful investor who said, if you build a better mousetrap, the world will be the path to your door.
Mm.
It was the dumbest piece of advice I was ever given. The world doesn't care about the mousetrap until you tell it about the mousetrap. You've got to
Yes.
go and knock on the doors of the world's front door and tell them I have a mousetrap and this is what it does. And I think, again, getting out of the silo into the network, this is going to be a great opportunity for people inside and outside Australia to connect and just realize what a massive resource of creativity and innovation we have in this country. We always have ever since settlement. Even before that, the boomerang was invented here because they were using aerofoils long before Bernoulli ever created the principle which gave us flight.
Mm.
This continent is a birthplace for massive innovation. So this should be a good opportunity for people with ideas and people with capital to get together and do something useful.
And thank you again because it's a segue into where I was going with another question. It's like as if we've rehearsed that, but we haven't. The conversation is what we call iterative. The things and the conversation is coming out of what we're doing. You have been very fortunate to take an idea, and people have got plenty of ideas, but to the ASX. in Australia and to develop all of that. And that complexity has been rewarded because other things have come from that. Tell us about that journey.
Once again, that was a team effort. I knew nothing about going public. And again, Lindsay Phillips, our primary investor, got together with some very accomplished people. Our CEO at the time, a guy called Rob Wong, was involved in developing that with Lindsay. We had a guy from who was then with Morgan's called David Kells, who started doing the prop when we got the data room going online. All these things were foreign languages for me, but these guys came on and formed a team and put together a proposal that really ended up being massively oversubscribed. And the effect of that was, apart from a really good launch, the stock doubled on day one. Apart from that, it was also for me a really good education in the importance of finding the right people to get together at the right time when you're ready to make that move.
And that is so pertinent within the context of CapTech 25. We've had 3 years of working together, challenges in terms of getting the right mix, and we certainly have every year increased the quality and quantity of people like yourself that bring so much opportunity to the table. And I'm really delighted that you are going to be there and share your wisdom. It's interesting when we look at that. Neuro-Electric, can you tell our audience, our listeners, what that is? Because that's really going to play a role, no doubt, in your presentation about that as a concept or a construct, and now, being made commercial. It's exciting.
So you've been moving your hands in front of the camera in the last 30 seconds.
Oh, I'm
And,
sorry.
and what you're doing with that, no, that's
Oh,
great. That's a good demonstration. So what you're doing with that is you're thinking about gesturing things, and your motor cortex is generating neuroelectric signals, which it sends down through your spinal cord and out to your fingers and hands. It's an amazingly complex series of events, which we don't even think about. We start to learn those things in the womb. But what happens is we're basically an electric body. We humans are all electric creatures. We're run on neuroelectrics. The neuroelectrics are those neurochemical electrical currents or charges which move down pathways we call neural pathways or nerves to various parts of our body to run things. And it's just as you were waving your hands, you were doing some incredibly complex things without even thinking about it. We're miraculous machines. What we found was if you could tap into that electrical signal somewhere downstream, you didn't have to punch a hole in somebody's skull to pick up what's going inside their brain. You didn't have to slide a stent up inside of a blood vessel to find out what's going on in their motor cortex. We could go downstream here and pick up an electrical signal, which has already been chosen by the brain to hit that mark. And when we pick it up, we've got the brain communicating with whatever sensor we put on your skin. And that sensor can pick up that electrical signal and turn it into a command to a computer or a program or a robot. And that's what we've been doing for several years now.
well, what I'm really interested in, I know our listeners and everyone who'll be at CapTech this year, it envelopes, if you like, or straddles not only the world of disability or movement, but also particularly elite sport. That's my understanding as well.
Exactly. We've spent 25 years developing advanced technology for people with severe disabilities.
Yes.
We've got it from the size of a shoebox down to the size of your little finger, and as thin as a Band-Aid, and it weighs as much as a piece of paper. Weighs less than 4 grams. So that technology now is so miniaturized, can go into a lot of places on the body, not just for communication, but as you say, Jim, for elite sports. So we are now designing systems, applications for this existing tech that we've developed to help elite athletes massively improve their personal best without drugs. Control Bionics is working with a company in the United States. We've taken a 20% interest in it. And they're helping professional and college level basketballers jump an extra 20 centimeters. That's the difference between being a really good college player and going fully professional on a multi-million-dollar contract. We can do that with any sport that involves physical activity.
I've been involved with young people, adolescents, particularly in what we call Western Sydney, and who are elite sports people over the many, many years. And that excites me when I hear about those things that can bring about improvement as a result of technology and AI and people like yourself who are real discoverers and entrepreneurs. It's so exciting. I can't wait to see you at CapTech, like all our other speakers, and to learn and to see and understand the wonderful opportunities that come about. Your presentation is going to be fantastic, like all our other wonderful people who'll be at the event. What do you think they could be and should be looking for to take out of your wonderful presentation?
I think the first thing is the idea, the innovation. We've got patent coverage on all our technology. We've got really good long-term proof of concept. We've got people around the planet now who are using it, who are communicating in ways they never imagined possible after their diagnosis, and people who are actually living much longer because they can communicate. But at CapTech, what we're hoping to do is give people in the audience a chance to actually put one of these sensors on their skin and see the signals up on a big screen and see what's happening when they fire that electrical signal, and then we'll show them what they can do with it. Because it's one thing to talk academically about putting a little sensor
Yes.
on your skin, picking up an electrical signal and doing stuff. It's another thing once you actually put it on and you get that visceral response and see on the screen 20 meters away what you're doing just by thinking about flexing a muscle, and what you can do if you're totally locked in, or if you're totally out on the edge as an elite athlete about to really burst on the market and expand your abilities on those massively important increments, whether you're a swimmer or a runner or a cricketer, by expanding your drugs just by being able to coordinate and tune your body the way you tune an F1 engine.
I'm speechless. I'm going to ask you to do one favor for me at CapTech, please, Peter. Bring plenty of cards because people will want to gravitate to you. They will. I can say that my experience of listening to many speakers over the years and being involved in that myself, having you present, particularly our next century, our next millennium, the future people who are going to do wonderful things for other people is super exciting. I'm really delighted to have met you, and I'm really looking forward to seeing your presentation at CapTech 25 in November. Like so many people at CapTech, it's been a real delight to meet you. I feel very fortunate I've met you before many of them have who will be at the conference. But at the conference, you're going to share with people an amazing amount of innovative and cutting edge opportunities. I'm so excited about that. And we're not just talking about people who may unfortunately have a disability. We're talking about the other extreme in the sense of performance and elite athletes at every level.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. And the key thing, Jim, is it's one thing to talk about it and present the idea of it, but really the thing that really clicks for people is when you put a sensor on their skin and they see the signal coming up on a big screen 20 meters away, and they realize suddenly what that electrical current means, what that control means when you patch it into the programs we've written for it.
Well, on behalf of CapTech, its think tank group, all the stakeholders that'll be there, we're absolutely delighted, and we can't wait for the November to come and for you to get up on stage and create that energy that we have just done now, and to seek and show the opportunities that all stakeholders can potentially obtain through being at CapTech. Thank you, Peter.